As I've watched it evolve, I think it's been far better than some of the alternatives that we looked at the time. I think there are a few occasions where I felt that the application of the law hasn't worked in the way I'd like it to work necessarily. But for the most part, I believe in our public sector collective bargaining law. I think it has done well to serve the interest of the state. An institution would be developed by operation of this bill that probably was unheard of in the years before this. We think of the history of collective bargaining in Ohio, and we think of the conditions before the passage of the collective bargaining law, and they were chaotic.
A number of the major concerns at the time of the passage of the bill, or while the bill was in the legislature, that management had was, first, what were going to be the management rights. Second, the one that caught the eye of the media was who would have the right to strike and who would not have the right to strike, and why. And the third area then was the impasse proceedings, the not just binding conciliation or binding arbitration, but what were the steps to get there, and would there be sufficient process to allow the parties to come to an agreement. At the time of the passage of Senate Bill 133, it was glee in the streets for the unions. In fact, one of the union lawyers turned to me one day and said, someone I'd known for a number of years, and said, we're in charge now, we're going to get the bill that we want. The first cycle of contract negotiations in many jurisdictions, it was a lot of turf issues, and it basically boiled down to one simple 5-letter word: power. How is the power going to be redistributed under the Collective Bargaining Act? Collective bargaining, in some respects, has provided for new opportunities for styles and structure and organizational. And so long as some people don't use the Collective Bargaining Act as a tool to try to beat someone over the head with, but rather as a mechanism to bring about change and bring about resolution of disputes, I see a very bright future. The Collective Bargaining Act had a tremendous impact on my business as a lawyer in a law firm. We affectionately referred to it as the Full Employment Act. And it was the Full Employment Act for a lot of people on both sides of the table. There was a lot of work to be done. On our clients, it was a shift in the structure of the organization. It was a huge educational process for those jurisdictions that had not had collective bargaining in the past. For those jurisdictions that had had negotiations and had been working with unions, there really wasn't that much impact to many of them, other than here's a new structure that we're going to have to work through. And so all they needed to learn was the structure. So at varying degrees, it was from outright revolt in some jurisdictions where it was tremendous impact on the workforce in a very negative way, as well as the elected officials and city councils and boards of county commissioners, to this is just another day and this is another process that we're going to learn. So it covered the entire rainbow of reactions.
I did some contracts right out of the chute, and I can tell you without doubt there was a lot of fear of the unknown. There was some sky is falling kind of predictions about this act that some saw the end of the world as we know it. I think the Collective Bargaining Act is more effective than folks even thought it would be when it was passed. I think that the predictability of what's going to happen in terms of whether it's an unfair labor practice, a representation case, fact-finding, all of these things make it easier for parties to work together when the outcomes of their actions are so predictable. So I think it's actually outstripped everybody's expectations.